Hello, everyone. My name is Meropi Moyseos, and I'm delighted to welcome you and Flo Buckeridge to this webinar series titled Impact and Reactions to the COVID-19 Pandemic, hosted by the British High Commission in Nicosia. Ms. Buckeridge has been working at the National Theatre since 2013. She's currently senior producer for NT Live, a national theatre initiative, or a mission actually, that brings the best of British theatre to cinema screens around the world, including Cyprus. Today, together with Flo, we will discuss the National Theatre's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The art scene worldwide may have been hit hard by the pandemic, but the National Theatre's reaction was fast and creative, while it has also managed to increase its audience reach during the March lockdown impressively. Flo will tell us about that and hopefully share with us what to expect from the National Theatre in the near future. Dear Flo, let's start by talking about what is on everyone's minds right now, the pandemic. The cultural and creative sector was asked to close down for a very long time, and I'd like to know how the National Theatre responded to this.
Hello. Well, first of all, thank you very much for speaking to me today. As you said, Meropi, we have been screening NT Live in cinemas in Cyprus for many years now, so it's great to be connecting. How did the National Theatre respond to the pandemic? Well, I think, like everyone in the world, we didn't know how long this was going to last for. We didn't know if we were closing for just a few weeks or whether it was going to be much longer than that. I think we all thought that it was much more likely to be a shorter period than it has been. But so we've kind of had to, we had to think quickly, I guess, about ways in which we could continue to engage with audiences, because everything that we did, from our cinema screenings to our touring internationally, to being in the West End in London, and of course our South Bank Theatre, had to be closed. We were very, very fortunate with having done NT Live, having a back catalogue of recordings, high quality recordings that we thought we wanted to make available to audiences in the broadest way that we could, and the kind of fastest way that we could. So very quickly, we created what we called National Theatre at Home. And it started in April with we made a recording of One Man, Two Governors available on YouTube for free. It had a premiere moment at 7 o'clock on a Thursday, which was in keeping with the NT Live performance time, which is always 7 o'clock on a Thursday. And we made it available for audiences to watch around the world from their homes. We thought initially that was going to be about 4 productions that we'd be doing that for. We'd maybe be doing this for 4 weeks, and then we'd have some news about how we were reopening again. But we ended up making 16 productions available in this way. So the whole program ran on for 16 weeks. And it was really amazing. It was the only way we were able to continue to engage with audiences, and we reached a total global audience of 15 million people watch those recordings, which was really phenomenal. The other thing that we were able to do is we have a educational streaming service in the UK called the National Theatre Collection, and we were able to make that available to schools in the UK at home as well. So that also felt very important to us, as schools across the UK were closed from March until September. So we responded as quickly as we could, and it was also a kind of important opportunity for us to be able to fundraise as well, because like theatres all over the world, we'd suddenly had our income had stopped. So it was an important initiative from that perspective as well.
So let's go back to the NT Live a bit for a while, since the audience in Cyprus is really interested on this. The National Theatre gained from the National Theatre Live initiative?
Global reach is the first and foremost, that we're able to connect to audiences around the world that we wouldn't be able to just from having people attend at the South Bank. There are obviously lots of people who can't come to the South Bank, or may never be able to travel to London and come and see a theatre production because of the cost, or because of how far away they live. And NT Live really enabled us to reach audiences that we just wouldn't be able to otherwise. When we first launched NT Live, we were very much influenced by the Met Opera in New York, who were the first arts organisation to broadcast their work, broadcast live performances in that way. And when we launched it, we thought that we were primarily going to reach a UK audience. We hadn't thought so much about outside the UK when we first started. But we were absolutely thrilled by the response around the world to seeing our productions. And it's just grown from strength to strength in that way. It's kind of alongside our touring work at the National Theatre. It was just a way to reach people. And it continues to be very mission-led in that sense, that it is about reaching audiences and making our work and the work of partner theatres, whose work we also broadcast under the NT Live banner, to make their work more available. So you mentioned at the start the kind of the best of British theatre, and that's really what we want to do. We want to bring art and theatre to audiences that wouldn't be able to see those productions otherwise.
Why did you want to be present during the lockdown? And also, if you can share some feedback from the people, if you had any.
Yeah, it was really important for us to continue to engage with audiences, partly because we believe that the arts and theatre can be a force for good in challenging and dark times, and lots of incredible art comes out of times of adversity. So we wanted to be able to bring some joy and some comfort to people's lives. But it was also really important for us to be engaging with our audiences and our partners kind of across the globe, really, and to maintain that access for them, that they continue to see the National Theatre as somewhere that creates work for them, that is a hub of creativity, that and all the good that we can do by making our work available. So it was hugely important for us. I think it would have also felt very strange for us if we had just sat and waited for it to pass. We were, as I said, really fortunate with the productions that we did have that did have available, so the recordings that we'd already made, and also where cinemas were open in the world. And at points through this pandemic this year, we have had cinemas open in the UK, and they've closed again, they've opened again and closed again, and the situation has been similar around the world. We also made a number of our back catalogue titles available, so productions that we'd previously screened, but we gave cinemas the opportunity to screen again, so that we could continue to engage with those audiences. I think the National Theatre is not very much without its audience. We have a really loyal audience, particularly on National Theatre Live, who like to communicate with us on social media. And so we wanted to continue to be able to do that as well. The audience response to NT at Home was phenomenal. We had people particularly with One Man, Two Governors, which was the first stream that we did, and that was right in the middle, certainly in the UK, when we'd just gone into full lockdown, and everyone was feeling quite strange and nervous, scared about what was going to happen. So the audience response to that was incredible. We had people dressed up to go to the theatre, people made their own tickets at home, people ordered their own interval drinks and left themselves, receipts, and it was really, really wonderful to see. And the engagement online was really strong throughout. We were also very fortunate that the performers and the creative teams on the productions were also very available to us, like everyone was stuck at home. So we were able to make lots of additional content around the streams. So post-show discussions or dance lesson tutorials, tutorials on how to be a pirate from Treasure Island. It was really, the content that we were able to make was really fun, and audiences responded really well to it. And we've actually taken quite a lot of learnings from all of that content that we produced at that time, and are now looking at how we continue to engage with audiences in fun ways like that. So it's definitely influenced how we're approaching our kind of how we speak to people on social media now. And we were also able to reach a much younger audience than we usually would, both at our home on the South Bank and also through NT Live. So I think 39% of the viewers were under 35, which is quite which is not the case at the South Bank. So it was fantastic to be engaging with younger audiences, and I think all arts organisations are striving to reach younger audiences and to create audiences of the future for the art form. So that was really exciting.
Were there any difficulties during that time that you faced?
Yes, there were lots of challenges. I should say that we don't have the rights to make our recordings available for free, as we did. So we had to seek permission from all of the artists involved, which is for 16 productions, was lots of people. So there was a challenge around that, and making sure that everyone was happy with what we were doing. At the same time, we were having to cancel productions. We were constantly, and are still, as we are in a second national lockdown in the UK now, having to adjust plans, make contingency plans on top of contingency plans. So it's been a hugely challenging time. Nothing has felt very certain, and the goalposts have moved constantly. But what was brilliant about NT at Home was that we were at least still able to engage with audiences, and in the broadest way that we could, by making it available for free.
So what's in the near future for NT at Home? Are there any near future plans for it?
Yes. So we are launching a streaming platform called National Theatre at Home. So it has the same name as as what we made available via YouTube, and it's going to be the National Theatre's first video on demand platform, and will be both a subscription and a pay-per-view service. We are launching with around 11 titles, and then we will be adding more productions throughout the year. So we hope by the end of the first year we'll have 40 productions that we can make available to audiences. This isn't a replacement of NT Live. In fact, NT at Home can't exist without NT Live. And once we're able to film our film productions for NT Live and make them available in cinemas again, we will. This is much more about the older titles that have already had their life in cinema, but that we can now make available to people in their homes around the world. It's a combination of National Theatre Live recordings and also some recordings from our archive, which means they weren't filmed for NT Live, but were filmed during their run at the National. So some of them, for lots of global audiences, will be productions that have never been seen before. So it's really exciting to be able to bring this work to audiences that haven't seen it. It is a partnership with Bloomberg Philanthropies, who are supporting the platform, and we are very excited to be bringing productions to audiences and to audiences in Cyprus.
During this first lockdown, the National Theatre went through remodeling its Olivier Theatre to safely welcome the audience back to its building. Would like to know a bit about that.
Yeah, a huge amount of work went into opening our auditorium again. We were open for 2 weeks with a production called Death of England Delroy, which was the sequel to a production that we'd had in our Dorfman Theatre just before the lockdown called Death of England. A huge amount of work, as I said, went into reopening the building across every area, really, from back of house, front of house, how we manage rehearsals, who could enter the building, and we also reconfigured, most significantly, I guess, we reconfigured our Olivier Theatre into in the round seating. So we built a deck of seating onto the stage so that performances were in the round. This meant that the experience of being in the auditorium, because we had social distancing measures in place and could only sell sort of less than 50% of our usual seats in the auditorium, having it in the round made the kind of the empty auditorium feel less empty, because you could see an audience all around you, even if they were distanced. A huge amount of work went into cleaning. So all of the cleaning that has to happen between audiences being there. The front of house team did incredible work in kind of making sure that audiences that attended stayed within their groups that they booked in, and ahead of going into the theatre were sat in kind of separate areas, but still able to sit and have a drink if they wanted to, as if we were in slightly more normal times. And actually, going back to what you were saying about the audience response, we had responses from audiences talking about the front of house staff, about our security team, in a way that you don't usually get. Usually people are talking about the performer or the writing, and that was happening too. But people were just so thrilled to be back in a theatre and to feel safe. And I think it's a real testament to our teams at the National Theatre that people did feel safe when they came back at a time when it would be very easy to decide not to come back and to stay at home and feel like that was the safer option. So we were open for 2 weeks, as I say. On its opening and closing night, which was its press night, we also filmed the production. So we had kind of 96 hours from when we knew we were going to film it to filming it, which was slightly crazy, but was achieved. We had a team in, similar to how we film NT Live. So we had a camera director and a script supervisor and a kind of broadcast team that came in to work on the filming. And we filmed that one final performance, and that was made available on the 27th of November. just for 24 hours on YouTube, again for free, so that audiences who weren't able to see that would have the opportunity to see it. We are also, I'm thrilled to say, we'll be bringing Death of England Delroy back to the National Theatre and the Olivier in the new year. So that feels good that production will get to be seen by audiences in real life again.
So the National Theatre has announced the creation of a new film version of Romeo and Juliet for television. How did the idea occur, first of all? And then what is the difference between filming for NT Live and filming a production for television?
We knew that we wanted to open the Olivier Theatre again in the round. As I've said, that the theatre is configured a bit like a Greek amphitheatre, so there's lots of aisles and entrances for audiences to come in, so social distancing wasn't an issue. But we knew from the start really that the Littleton Theatre was going to struggle to open with social distancing measures in place. That's because there is no central aisle. It's kind of a big block bank of seats in there. The Littleton stage is also vast. It's the stage that you use if you come to the National Theatre, or if you've seen an NT Live recording of something from the Littleton. It's got quite a big wide stage. It's actually got double that space kind of behind the curtain, as it were. So the stage space is really big, and so we thought about how we could use that space and came up with the idea of creating a film studio essentially on the Littleton stage. And we are filming at the moment. They're in rehearsals, but we'll be filming in the new year the Romeo and Juliet, which was a production that was going to be in our Olivier Theatre and actually would have been on stage now. But due to availability of the cast and this opportunity that has come up, we are filming Romeo and Juliet for television, as you say. This is very different to NT Live, that although it is a theatre production, it's being filmed much more like you would for film or television. So it's not a single performance with an audience. It's being shot over a period of weeks. So it will feel much more like a film, I think, than NT Live does. We always say that NT Live is a kind of hybrid arts form. It's not a film, and it's not like being in the theatre. It's somewhere in between. And I think what's exciting about Romeo and Juliet is that is potentially another hybrid art form as well. It is a theatre creative team who are creating the project. So we are very excited to be working on that, and to know that we can continue filming even when we're in lockdowns here. So that's exciting, that we know that work will be able to continue.
I guess you have these discussions all the time, moving from the scene, the stage, to NT Live, and then filming for television.
Yeah, I think that they are very different things. And I think for NT Live, we are very, very sure that what we are filming is not a film of One Man, Two Governors. We are capturing a live stage performance. So we don't ask, when we know that we're going to film a production for NT Live, we don't ask the directors or the creative teams to change anything about the production for the broadcast. We will come in and film around what exists, and we will make it work. If there are challenging things from a filming perspective, that's kind of our challenge to resolve with the director. Whereas filming something for television, when you know that the output, it's only going to be seen that way, there isn't going to be a live audience, that's quite a shift in thinking and planning, and allows you to approach it in quite a different way. We are thinking as well as we launch NT at Home about how we capture our productions at the National Theatre. So we have National Theatre Live and we have our archive recordings, but we're also thinking about what's the best way that we could be capturing the productions that aren't going to have a life in the cinema, but that might be suitable for somewhere else. So it's a very hot topic for us at the National Theatre, and we are in some ways, if there is anything positive that has come out of that pandemic, it has allowed us to push forward those conversations about what is possible and how can we reach audiences digitally. So it's enabled us to have those conversations where in the past it might have been harder. So it is exciting, and I think it's interesting to be exploring making work digitally in different ways. But I would say that first and foremost, we remain a theatre, and to be playing, having performances of plays on stage with a full audience is what we really, really want to get back to doing. And that will never go away. That will always be kind of the heart of what we do.
So based on your experience, the National Theatre is a big organization and so flexible, and you have so many possibilities. But based on your experience and expertise, I'd like to ask you to share your thoughts on what smaller theatres can do to keep their audiences engaged during these times. And I'm asking you this because, in Cyprus, the theatre scene mostly consists of small theatre companies with limited budgets and resources.
Yes, I think obviously the National Theatre is a huge organisation, and in that sense, we are fortunate. I work as part of the digital media department. We have a department for that, and I think it's been really challenging for arts organisations to continue to engage with audiences through these extended periods of closure. I think for us, even if we hadn't had NT at Home and those recordings to make available to audiences, I think how we engage with audiences online has been really huge during this time, in terms of not just the actual recordings of plays that we've been able to make available, but the other work that we've been able to do. So create filming on Zoom, post-show discussions or discussions about particular topics of plays with creatives has been fantastic. I know some organisations have done play readings or kind of use the online world in a different way to continue to engage with audiences. I think for us, we asked a lot of people to create content for us from home. So actors, as I talked about, filming dance tutorials for us. That was all done on their phones, on their laptops at home. So I think it's engaging with the artists that you work with and with your audience online as much as you can. It is, of course, possible to film productions and make them available, and you don't need to have a full kind of NT Live budget to do that, and you can do things on a smaller scale. But I think it's about thinking about who do you want to reach and why do you want to reach them, and if you know who your audience are, then that's or who you want your audience to be, then that's the best place to start.
So I think, Flo, that it would be nice to close this discussion with a comment on the role of theatre and the arts in general, and the artists during a year that proved both traumatic for the community, but also revealing for the importance of the arts in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, we at the National Theatre, we are a theatre, so we obviously think the arts are so important. But I think going back to what I said earlier, we really do feel that the arts and theatre can be a force for good, a force for something positive in what is a very challenging time, whether that is telling a story that you've not heard before, making you laugh, giving you some escapism from your flat that you've been sat in for 6 months. I mean, it's the power of theatre and the arts is really strong, and I think it's even more important through a time of that we've just lived in this pandemic and are still living, that arts continues to be available to people. In theatre, you know, we've been telling stories for thousands of years, and it's interesting. We've been looking back at the UK's history of other times when we've had periods of closure for different kind of political or the plague reasons, and the work that comes out of that time, and kind of I firmly believe that you know, we will come through this, and there will be incredible art to see again, but it's a hugely challenging time. It's a challenging time for the sector kind of across the world, financially, particularly when we've had to have our doors closed for such a long time, but also really significantly for the freelance artists who really, without them, the National Theatre couldn't exist and other theatres couldn't exist. So it's a very difficult time, and I just hope that we can have a vaccine soon, and that we can start to go back to some form of normality and be creating work for audiences again. But I can't think of a time where it would be more important to have art in our lives. Yeah, so that's what I think on that one.
Thank you so much, Flo, for this very interesting talk. I'm emphasizing on what you said about the power of the arts. I think that we should keep reminding ourselves that the arts can help people heal in more than one ways, and that artists always provide a vision during troubled times. They've proven it in the past, and I'm sure that their ability remains intact. Thank you very much. Thank you to the British High Commission for the opportunity, and thank you all for watching.